Welcome, everyone, to Emerson's booth at the PAC Expo. I'm Pat Laurie, and we are thrilled to have with us today our expert panel, and we're going to explore innovative strategies to enhance sustainability and reduce environmental impact in our industry, along with Emerson's pivotal role in driving these changes. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by two valued colleagues, Cronin and Amit Patel, who bring invaluable insights into these pressing priorities. Thank you, Corey and Amit, for joining me. Let's start our discussion by delving into the growing emphasis on sustainability within our field. Amit, how is the focus on sustainability evolving within factory automation and CPG sectors?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Sustainability is really becoming a top central priority for manufacturers today. Over 90% of manufacturers today have some form of a sustainability initiative. And that's because there's quite a few drivers in the industry today that's helping manufacturers make significant gains towards reducing energy costs and emissions. And examples could be around innovations in material science, change in consumer preferences, and especially automation and digital transformation. And with that, customers are getting much better gains and scaling those gains across their facilities, across their machines and production lines.
So, how are regulatory pressures and incentives really driving the push for sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, there's a fundamental sort of puzzle that all manufacturers have to solve. It's how can I do more with the finite resources that I have? And operational efficiency is really the North Star that manufacturers are driving towards. All the while, in order to drive their sustainability initiatives, they also have to remain competitive. They also need to drive a level of profitability and market differentiation. When it comes to the regulatory examples, of course, you've got federal and some global actions that are taking place, but you're seeing regulations even more at the state and local level as well. Lastly, in terms of incentives, with the use of digital transformation, deploying the right sensors and the right hardware and software, customers are really beginning to make significant gains and unlock value and scale that value across their factories.
So, Corey, tell me, how does the conscious consumer play into all of this?
Well, when you think about it, they have the choice. I mean, they really have the choice on what they're choosing to buy off the supermarket shelf. Is it, are they, they're now looking for companies that have sustainability initiatives, recycling, getting the most of what they can from the products that they're producing.
There's always that tension between the ESG commitment to net zero goals and then aligning with, well, we have to be profitable too. So, how do you resolve that tension?
I mean, I think it comes back to it really is the operational efficiency being closely tied, but at the same time, I've got to meet these regulations that are out there that are being imposed upon me to make. And what's the balance between them? I think it's a handshake. It's really a give and take. And you progress through as you go through that progression, you increase your efficiencies and you become more of a green producer, so to speak, through that practice.
So, let's talk a little bit about waste reduction and resource optimization initiatives. How are those being implemented?
Yeah, so you're really looking at some key focus areas that manufacturers are looking at. And the first one is, of course, reducing their GHG emissions. A lot of manufacturers out there have set pretty aggressive net zero targets, and there's a lot of work that still has to be done to achieve that. The second area is around resource consumption, right? Reducing the amount of water, electrical energy, especially in the world of factories using compressed air and being more efficient with those resources is going to be critical. And then, of course, the overall efficiency of your machines, right? When they're not producing, are they left on and still consuming those resources? And I would say the way that they're being measured today is really around unlocking data, right? And data is a really central theme to this entire journey because, data is really a transformational asset. With that information that gets unlocked and contextualized, can manufacturers really begin to make data-driven decisions and scale that and get towards a level of greater knowledge and insights?
Good point. Let's talk about that digitalization, data, and analytics, and how is that really contributing to sustainability efforts?
Well, when you look at sustainability efforts, they all need to be measured. you have a baseline. You have a baseline to establish, and without having that data, you know, to compare where I've been, you have no way of knowing, am I doing improvements that are making an impact? And that's super, super key. And when production facilities start going down these sustainability efforts, they need to baseline where they're at, understand where they want to go to, and are the improvements I'm making having the impact that I expect?
So let's talk about circularity then. How do sustainable products, how might they lead to then sustainable production or
Well,
supply chains?
it's about really reusing materials in that circularity process. So if possible, I mean, we all see the recycle emblems on our bottles of soda or our boxes. That's really what that is playing into this. Sustainable production, ensures long-term success in attaining those reduction goals and those sustainability goals in with that increased profitability.
So, Amit, talking about profitability, how do businesses really balance that tension between being sustainable and gaining a profit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a general assumption that being sustainable and being profitable are almost at two ends of each other. And that's not necessarily true, because if your sustainability goals are aligned with your core business goals, do you really begin to drive that strategic alignment? And examples could be around reducing the amount of energy input to create a product or a good, trying to make those data-driven decisions, trying to also introduce automation into your processes, right? Because there's a element of human error, perhaps, and that could create waste or scrap. There's also the ability to drive more communication, right? Corey had talked a little bit about how the consumers are really at the center and ultimately the decision makers in whether the business or manufacturing plant is profitable. And communicating your sustainability strategy, making those commitments and aligning to a greater goal is resonating with those customers today.
So, Corey, then what are the challenges related to fragmented production networks among end users?
Well, as in most production facilities, things were built not all at once. So we have different, I'm going to say, errors of network connectivity between different lines of equipment. So the real thing is to understand what your technology stack is, what that network infrastructure is, and how can I leverage what's there or maybe connect to what's there. Maybe it's an edge device, maybe it's a gateway, on how I could get that data up to where I could contextualize and use that in my sustainability efforts.
So, Amit, tell me, where can companies start to build that and scale their sustainability efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it starts with having a clear set of use cases. And I think, sort of the theme that we're talking about today is really going digital. And that could be, for example, real-time monitoring of your machines to understand how they behave when they consume resources. Introducing automation, as I said, to perhaps reduce some form of error and scrap in your process. Another example is moving away from paper-based reporting and using, SCADA software or digital reporting tools to mitigate that paper consumption. There's also a benefit to partnering with an automation supplier such as Emerson, for example, because think about it like this. Not all of the expertise, the technology, the time, and the resources is coming directly from the manufacturer. And this is the benefit of partnering with an automation supplier like us, because what do you get? You get access to technology and expertise. You are de-risking some of your initiatives. There's also the ability to deliver training and support throughout that entire journey. And this is also a game of acceleration, right? You need to define the use cases, as I mentioned, prove that ROI, and quickly scale it. Because, as I said, there's a lot of large commitments around net zero being made. And I think customers, at the end of the day, have to not only maintain that path, but maintain a level of profitability and competitiveness as well in their industries.
So then what gaps in skill set, expertise really need to be addressed, sort of democratize and level the playing field
Yep.
when it comes
Well,
to
when you look
sustainability?
at skill shortages, it's something that's very rapidly. I mean, it's been talked about for a while. You get into, we've had an age of, retirements. We've had an age of new technology coming to the plant floor. It really starts out with the workforce on making sure that they're prepared to embrace these new technologies and getting the most of understanding how do I read and understand this data that's coming to me now to drive those those improvements that need to be made from a sustainability perspective.
So let's talk about sustainability initiatives and the difference between impact on OEMs versus end users, Amit.
Yeah, so I think, with end users, they're really making strong commitments towards net zero, to reducing their emissions. And at the same time, end users have to drive towards that operational efficiency. And, they're really going to be looking at their demand on their manufacturing floor around resource consumption and waste. And if you look at the OEM side, conversely, they're really looking at it from a design perspective. So you're looking at machines that are now much more connected, able to deliver a higher fidelity and resolution of data. They're also looking at materials as well, like recyclable materials, new types of plastics, for example. So really, they're looking at sustainability from two different ends as well, but they all are sort of complementary towards reaching that goal of reducing waste, being more efficient.
Corey, what are the most impactful practices that you've seen?
Well, when it comes to the plant, since we were kind of talking about OEM there at the last, when I look at the plant, again, we said before, start small. I'm start small, definitely. The next thing I really like to do is pick that area of your facility that may be small in nature, but I like using a term I like to call gamification. So I want to show the rest of the facility what this impact is having on that alignment as far as understanding our KPIs, driving that continuous improvement, and then letting that spread throughout the facility as far as how am I going to embrace this new way of going about sustainability and these KPI measurements that I need to make the company more profitable.
Amit, you are the digital transformation guy. Tell me a little bit how companies can use digital transformation to really accelerate some of these strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do so. So digital transformation is really the value creation imperative, right? It is where customers are really beginning to unlock significant value and then the potential to scale that across their machines and across their facilities. And ultimately, we see digital transformation in four major steps. It's really first step being digitization. And that really means deploying the right intelligent sensors to unlock and access that trapped data. The next step is really to digitalize. And what that means is to take that data and make sense of it, give context and meaning behind it. Therefore, your operators, your plant managers, and stakeholders have information to make data-driven decisions. The third step is really around automation, right? How can we free our workforce, our stretched workforce from dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs, but at the same time, mitigate human error that exists, right? And then the last piece to that is with the use of technology, especially like edge technology. You need to look at transformation, and that's really all about scaling. And one of the things at Emerson that we're driving with our customers is, of course, our Florida Cloud approach, and our Florida Cloud approach is really catalyzing and collapsing those four layers, because let's be honest, trying to do those steps around digitalization, and automation is not easy. It involves people, processes, and technologies of all different kinds of experiences and expertise. And it is a journey. It's not a one-shot done. And as I said with our Florida Cloud approach, it's about how do we collapse and accelerate those pathways for our customers. And it's by really taking our expertise and then our portfolio of the intelligent devices, our hardware, edge controls, our SCADA software, to bring that all together. And some examples that we'll perhaps talk about here is around how we've delivered the compressed air manager and the energy manager as real proof points and examples of how we do that, fit for use solutions that customers can accelerate and really begin to drive towards their sustainability journey through monitoring, unlocking trapped data, and making those decisions.
So tell me about some successful implementation that you had with the Florida Cloud technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So one example I can give you is one of our sites in the US. We deployed our solution called Energy Manager. And Energy Manager is really a combined solution that uses our power meters, our edge hardware, and software, pulling that together to drive energy monitoring for a specific machine or a production line in an entire site. And in this case, in one of our sites in the US, the energy manager visualization is able to give you anomalies, or at least you're able to see those anomalies on the software, and they were able to see that the machines were actually being left on when nothing was being produced. And that's, pretty inefficient. And in this case, when the plant figured that out and they shut the machines off over a year, they were able to save $125,000. Significant savings just through a monitoring example.
So, what emerging technologies, and obviously this is a very robust technology, but what other emerging technologies and industry trends do you really see, further driving sustainability?
Oh, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things that no one can really run away from, it's coming at us like a freight train, is of course AI and machine learning, right? It's really at the core, as I said, data is a transformational asset, right? And there's steps to get there. So of course, starting with unlocking that trapped data and making sense of it and contextualizing it's like phase one, if you will, and then applying data science, algorithm, and understanding those patterns and interdependencies with those machines is giving users way more information around what's exactly happening in their machines. And I think that is going to make leaps and bounds levels of gains for customers when they start to apply machine learning and AI tools.
Yeah.
Or do
Absolutely.
you have something to add to that?
Well, I think it's also really easy to get caught up in that big AI and AI piece. I think it's really important to kind of roll it back and remember kind of where we started. Start small.
Yep.
Start small. Think about your people. Where are they at in this? Where are they at in their understanding? Where are they at in their process? Is my process ready? And then look at the technology that I have implemented on my floor. Where can I, implement and augment and add to? And then, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it and grow that out and gamify it throughout my plant, and take advantage of the data that I could not only generate from using these technologies, but impact profitability. Really hit the bottom line.
Corey and Amit, thank you so much for your expertise today and for this robust discussion. And thank you for joining us today. And hopefully you've understood the importance of sustainability and reducing environmental impacts. Your insights are really valuable as we strive to really make meaningful progress in these areas. And so for more information on the topics we discussed today and additional insights, please visit emerson.com. There you can explore how Emerson's solutions and values can support you in reaching your sustainability goals and making a positive impact. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to working together to create a more sustainable future.
Thank you.